That's great. Thanks, Sally. Just good afternoon, everybody. My name's Andy Harrison. I'm the SRO for the programme, and my colleague Jeff Neild is Programme Director for Making Room for Dignity. We just thought we would start off with the branding that's been developed for the programme. This was developed by a lady called Kate Smith, who's a former service user of the facilities that we are developing, and a locally based artist, and we built the brand for the programme around that. Okay. Brief introduction to the programme. What are we doing? We have got a £150 million investment in mental health inpatient facilities in Derby and Derbyshire, and three very simple key aims. To end the use of dormitories in our acute inpatient units, those being shared bedroom spaces, to provide separate specialist care for older adults requiring inpatient care, and to end the current out-of-area psychiatric intensive care unit stays for people that live right the way across Derbyshire. So why replace dormitories? Derbyshire has one of the highest numbers of mental health dormitory style wards across the country, and even single rooms that we do have aren't en suite, mean that all service users have to share toilets and bathrooms when they are in the units. It's been found from research that shared dormitories can actually worsen service users' mental health. As you can imagine, if you are used to living as part of your family or living on your own, and suddenly you are sharing bedroom facilities with up to 5 other people, that in itself can be quite disturbing. So the single rooms with ensuite bathrooms give us the opportunity to improve individual care and provide better privacy, dignity, safety, and will shorten the amount of time that the person needs to be in the unit. Both NHS England and the Care Quality Commission, based on that research, have a requirement that mental health dormitories are replaced. In terms of our third aim, why local psychiatric intensive care? So we are now the only area in England that doesn't have a local psychiatric intensive care unit, a PICU, as they're called. All service users that require this intensity of service within Derbyshire have to be placed in appropriate units out of county, because we don't have that local facility. And it does mean that people can be treated hundreds of miles away from their home, from Derbyshire, and that obviously makes families and family and friends visiting them very difficult at a time when they are feeling very vulnerable and when they need the support of loved ones the most. Again, NHS England and the Care Quality Commission have a requirement for local PICU services. And Jeff, I'll hand over to you on the designs.
Thank you. So Andy's gone through the what we're doing and the why we're doing it. So the next thing we wanted to talk about was the how we were doing it. So obviously understand what the objectives were and the need for these new facilities. We wanted to make sure that these weren't sort of designed by people who had no involvement in the services we provide or the facilities that we run. So we had lots and lots of meetings with architects on key designs, and that's an absolute necessity when we're running any construction or refurbishment programme. And involved in those meetings, we had clinical staff at every one of those meetings. So we've had that clinical view right from the start. And I've actually got a nurse embedded in my project delivery team or program delivery team, who's been a key part of those sessions. We've also had service user representation at all these meetings, and again, I've got a person with lived experience embedded in my team. They are actually a working member of the team, not just somebody who comes in and advises us. So this is somebody who's in with the team day to day, quite often organises these meetings that we attend, and he has become a key part of our team, and been absolutely blessed that, as well as his experience of lived mental health experience, he's also somebody with a physical health disability, and he brings that wide view of the world into our meetings, which has been absolutely superb. We've used that role and our key contractors to survey our service users. So we've looked at where they are now, what they like and dislike, because obviously, although the facilities are not ideal, our service users do like them, and they like the care that they receive from those units. So we've done a survey on what they do like and what we need to retain, and then we've obviously made sure that we've covered off what needs to improve within the new facilities. We've also liaised with service user and carers reference groups. So if we have a decision about something that will be directly affected by patient and service user experience and care experience, we actually run the final decision on those elements where there's a choice past the service users and carers reference group or groups. We've also got a clinical reference group, so there are some key decisions that don't get made until the clinical reference group has said yes to them, and that can quite often involve architects coming to the clinical reference group and presenting ideas, presenting options, and they've been really, really well received and help us to get to decision, particularly where there's 2 or 3 good options. It's how we pick the best of those and the most suitable out of the ones that are available. So what are we building? So in the north, we are building the Derwent unit, which is an adult acute mental health unit, and we're building this in the grounds of Chesterfield Royal Hospital. And we're also taking over a ward at Walton Hospital, which is owned by Derbyshire Community Health Services, and we're refurbishing that as an older adult mental health ward. In the south, we're building the Carsington unit, which is very, very similar to the Derwent unit. Again, it's a 54-bedded unit. We'll go into a little bit more detail shortly. But we're also refurbishing the Radbourne unit, which will give us 2 adult mental health wards for female patients. So this is an existing unit, and we're refurbishing the ground floor wards of that unit. For Derbyshire-wide services, so for psychiatric intensive care, we're also building a new unit at Kingsway, which is actually attached to the Carsington unit. So they, from the outside, look like one building, but they're very, very definitely 2. And that's going to be called Kingfisher House, and that's a psychiatric intensive care unit. And literally just across the service road from it, we're refurbishing one of our PFI buildings to develop an enhanced care unit, which will be for female patients who are in out of area PICUs at the moment. So this is where they are. You can see there on the left, Walton Hospital at the top left, just on the outskirts of Chesterfield, and Chesterfield Royal, which is in Calo. So they are 2.5–3 miles apart. Kingsway site in Derby, just down the A38, where the A38 and the A5111 meet. We've got the Carsington unit, we've got Audrey House, we've got Kingfisher House, and then literally 1.25 miles away by road, or about 3/4 mile away on foot, we've got the Radbourne unit, where we're developing the Jasmine and the Orchid wards. All of these names have been selected by our staff, service users and carers. We asked for names and some ideas for these, and then once we've got a short list, we asked people to vote on that short list. So along with the branding and the name for the branding that Andy mentioned on the earlier slide, everything about this programme has been inclusive and done through engagement and co-designed, including the names of the actual programme itself and the names of the units and the wards. So what are we building or refurbishing? In the north, as I say, we've got an adult acute unit, which is replacing the Hartington unit. This is a new build. It's going to be called, as we said, the Derwent unit. It will have 54 beds, 3 times 18 wards, 18 bedded wards. One of those will be a male ward, one will be a female ward, and one will be a flexible gender ward, which will include the ability to have non-binary service users accommodated. And I'm going to do a very quick flyover of the unit shortly, and I'll be able to show you where that is. It's laid out slightly different to the other wards. This gives us an increase of 2 adult acute unit beds in the north. And this is what it will look like. That's an architect's visual of the building. You can see there's bits of cladding on it. It's a very, very modern looking building. Our brief has been to make this look as least institutional as possible, and I think we've achieved that wonderfully with these designs. That's inside and out. It's a very, very nice looking building. It's a very significant looking building. If anybody's been, we'll show you shortly a flyover, but it's a very significant looking building. But we have made sure it doesn't look like any sort of institution. In the south, we're building again an adult acute unit to replace part of the Radbourne unit, so the 3 upstairs wards. This will be a new build. The units are going to be called the Carsington unit, as we said. Again, it will have 54 beds, but these are this time 3 times 18 bed male wards, so it's going to be an all male unit. Across down the road in the Radbourne unit, we are refurbishing the ground floor wards, so these are going to be called the Jasmine and Orchid wards. There'll be 34 beds here, and these are 2 times 17 beds on those wards. So we've got a nice balance of the same number of service users on each ward. And this is where I'm going to drop my screen for a second, because I've got the videos lined up. So I'm going to show you 3 very quick clips. I'm not going to show you all of them, because as it said on the cover email that went out, there's 12.5 minutes of video, and you've had the chance to look at those in advance. So I'll take these down, but I'm going to show you what the new units look like on the outside. Then I'm going to show you what they look like on the inside. And then I'm going to very quickly show you the progress at Chesterfield. And the reason I'm doing that is it's the slightly furthest developed one. And you'll get a view of where we're at in terms of the build. So just give me a second to do the technology. There we go. Sorry. Right, I'm hoping, and I can only see Andy. Can you see Kingsway?
Yep.
Derby Kingsway exterior. Fantastic. I'll put that onto full screen. So this is the outside of the Kingsway site. So this is coming from the PICU end, which is on the left, going past some of the outdoor space, going across. So we've got the main entrance to the psychiatric intensive care unit there, coming across the front of the unit now. Discrete entrance to section 136 suite that you can just see there as we go past. We're now coming up towards the main entrance. So the louvered areas there is to allow air into our service areas where all the plant and equipment is. This is the main entrance. This is our existing energy centre on site, which we're going to clad and blend in with the building. And we're just coming to the side of the building now where it blends. And this is, for those that know the site, we're coming towards the accommodation where the car park is, by the car park 1 as we come in. And this is just coming around. You can start to see some of the outdoor garden areas as well, and some of the planting and landscaping that we're going to be doing. And this is now taking you to the side of the site that runs parallel with the A5111. And I will pause that there. So inside, this is nearly 3 minutes long, and does that come up, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go to full screen. So what I want to do is start in some of the outdoor areas. So before I start this, you can see here, these areas that are fenced off with trees and the like in them. These are what we call visual amenity gardens. So every bedroom that we've got will look out on the ground floor to a visual amenity garden. And those visual amenity gardens will be an area that's got planting in there, a bit of landscaping. This gives the service users a view from their bedrooms, which is obviously a nice view. They've all got access to natural daylight, but it's a pleasant view. And we are planting types of trees in here, which will help with our ecological net gain on the site. So we're putting back more than we've taken off in terms of tree removal for the builds, but we're trying to develop tree species that will also encourage wildlife. So we'll get the birds and the like in these trees, so that again the service user will get that contact with nature, which we all know is very, very good for mental health. So just play a minute or so of this. So this is going from a visual amenity garden. We're going to go through a window. which is obviously something that we wouldn't be doing on a normal basis, but the joys of architecture. So this is going through the visual amenity gardens. And then we're going to go into service users bedroom. The grey squares on the wall are where the art will go. So we're now in the ensuite bathrooms, which every one of the rooms has got, and you can see into the bedroom very, very quickly there. And then we come out of the bedroom, and I'm just going to take you down to the nurses station so you get an idea. So these are the rows of bedrooms. Where we can't achieve homely, we've been asked to achieve hotel, so a sort of Premier Inn type feel. And I hope you'll agree that we've achieved that in terms of the design. You can see wash hand basins, because obviously we're ensuring we've got infection prevention measures in place. And we're coming down to the nurses station. As you'll see, the nurses station has a view down the corridors. There are 2 corridors set out like an L shape. The nurses can actually see down both of them from this area here. And then we're into the shared accommodation area with the dining room and the day room in there. Just get rid of that one. And then just to show you where we're at with progress, I'm only going to show you 1 minute and 2 seconds of this. Is that on the right one, Andy?
It is.
Yep. Okay. So this is the build at the Chesterfield Royal Hospital. So we're going to do a flyover by drone, and this is real, not artistic impression. So you can see the building laid out here. This high area in the middle is Ward 1 and 2. Ward 2 is upstairs. Ward 1 downstairs, and you can see the section 136 suite, this area here where my cursor's coming around. Main corridor down the centre of the hospital, shared therapy areas in this middle section here, which all the wards use. Every ward will have its own designated garden area, including the upstairs ward, which has got this area here, which is what we call a sky garden, which is a concept that was tried a few years ago in London, where space is very, very valuable, and we've used on both of our new builds. Then we've got the single story ward coming up here, and you can see this ward at the end that looks like a U. That's the ward that we can configure to a different mix of male, female, or male or female, or this bit at the end where we've got the square layout. That is somewhere where we could have up to 4 patients who don't want to be identified by any particular fixed gender. Just to give you some orientation, this area here that my cursor's over now is the existing Hartington unit. This road takes you up to the main entrance. So if you turn left, that's the road to Calo, and then you can see the car parks and the entrances to the main site along here in the main car parks, just to give you an idea of where we're at. So I'll take that down. So I'll just flick through this because you've seen these already. And I can't remember whether you're doing this bit or me.
Don't mind, Jeff. I'll pick it up. So in addition to the new units, we currently have a mixed age ward at the Hartington unit with older adults and working age adults in the same ward. So we are refurbishing, as Jeff said earlier, a ward at Walton Hospital. Will be called the Bluebell ward, and it will provide 12 beds for men and women using flexible ward spaces for older adults, and it replaces the existing 12 adult beds on that joint ward. That gives an idea of, again, the garden in the quadrangle in the centre of that ward, access for service users. And then finally, in terms of the specialist services, we are providing a new build psychiatric intensive care unit, will be called Kingfisher House, and that is a 14-bed male facility, and directly across the service road at Kingsway, Audrey House is being developed as an 8-bed female enhanced care unit.
just before we move on to the visuals, but we haven't done one for the PICU because it looks exactly like the adult acute units in terms of the design facility, the design principles. If we showed you a walkthrough of the PICU, it would look exactly the same. The only difference with the PICU is how the building is used in terms of when doors are locked and which areas are locked, etc. But also the robustness. So, for instance, in the adult acute unit, the bedrooms are made, the walls in the bedrooms are made out of plasterboard, so what we call a stud wall, which is either timber or a metal framing with plasterboard on top of it. In the PICU, because of the robustness required for that particular group of service users, those walls are blockwork with plastered straight onto them. So in terms of look and feel, they're exactly the same, just the robustness of the build is slightly different. And these are how this is the inside of Audrey House, which is our female enhanced care unit. So this is an existing unit which we've refurbished up to latest standards. And you can just see that, again, the look and feel looks very, very similar. And the reason for that is we've got all the architects involved in the job. We've got 2 different architects with 2 different officers for one of those architects working on this, but I've insisted that all the architects work together. So all the colour schemes, so all the things like the floor colours, etc., the types of doors, are all consistent from site to site, so all of our service users are getting the same standard, and the highest standard we can achieve with a refurbishment, which, as you can see here, is very, very good quality. We're on the verge of finishing this, and it does look very similar. So we've shown you inside. No, I'm not showing you inside the specialist unit. I'll see if that. This is a very, very quick one. I'll see if I can get it to work from here. Please tell me if it does. No, we won't do that because that'll disturb things too much. So I'll go on to the next slide for Andy.
Thanks, Jeff. So just a final couple of slides. This shows when each of the units that are being refurbished or built new will open for use by service users. So the Bluebell older adults ward will come online August next year. And then the 2 adult acute units, Derwent in Chesterfield and Carsington in Kingsway, in November next year. And then at the same time as that, the Audrey House Enhanced Care Unit, also at the Kingsway site, will come online. And then finally, next financial year, we've got the Radbourne Unit Ward 32, the first of those 17-bed female wards, opens in March 25, and the Psychiatric Intensive Care Unit Kingfisher House opens in March 25. That leaves us with just one 17-bed ward that is then being refurbished, which will finally open in April 26. And then just as a final slide, we've in the move from dormitories to single ensuite rooms, we need to make sure that we can safely staff all of the units. So this just gives you an idea of the number of whole-time equivalent staff that we will be recruiting for the existing services, and also for the new specialist services, the Audrey House Enhanced Care Unit and Kingfisher House, the Psychiatric Intensive Care Unit. Thanks, Jeff. So that's our presentation, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Andy and Jeff. Great presentation, and great to see service users involved in various different forms, as you say, throughout the development of the programme. It's a massive programme across Derbyshire, so great to hear all the progress that's been made. We haven't got any questions in the chat at the moment. I don't know whether anyone wants to raise a hand or ask any questions that way. Stephen Bramley, thank you.
Hi, I'm a member of the Public Participation Committee for the ICB. I remember in the past some of this being discussed in the early stages of development at the PPC. It would be interesting if you gentlemen have got the time, if you could maybe have a chat with the engagement team and maybe present how you've done the engagement and the involvement, you know, having your experts by experience involved. Because I think how it's come across today is an excellent example of how it should be done. We get things come to the PPC and sometimes there hasn't been enough engagement and involvement done. So I think the way that certainly the presentations come across today, it would be a good example for the PPC to hear about. Not necessarily the whole presentation, because as I say, I do remember in the past there being some discussion of these changes that are taking place and the new units that were being built. But I just think from the actual engagement side, it sounds as though you've done a sterling job in making sure that the people that best know how these facilities are going to work, that they've been involved, and you know, that's really good. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And I think oh, sorry. I think in response to that, Stephen, you're right. I mean, we are extremely proud of how we've both engaged with designs in terms of having the right people involved, and that's still continuing. I mean, even at the moment we're discussing signage and colour schemes, and we've got our sensory expert involved in all of that, because obviously what looks pretty may not always be suitable for people who are neurodiverse, who are partially sighted, etc., etc. So we've got our, you know, the relevant experts even at this stage still involved in those developments. We've had lots and lots of therapeutic input. We've obviously had medical and clinical input to the designs and service users. So yeah, we are very, very proud of that. But I think on top of that, the work that Jane and her team have done in terms of, you know, we're working within life sites, and there's been an awful lot of engagement with the staff on site in terms of the impact on parking, noise, dust, you know, relationships with the contractors on site, because, you know, we're bringing new people onto site every week who've never been on site before. And we get bumps in the road every now and again, but we've got a really good mature relationship where we've got fortnightly meetings with the operational staff who can air their concerns. We take those away, and usually within a day, couple of days, we've responded to those. So yeah, more than happy to come and talk about this being a sort of case study for how you do good engagement, and how that then has a positive effect on what you develop at the end of the programme.
Thank you. I think that would be really good, because we get a lot of good engagement. Don't get me wrong, but I just think sometimes there are challenges with the way engagement is carried out, and it sounds certainly from the presentation that you've gone the extra mile to make sure that engagement's been done, and it's been done well. And obviously, you feel that you've benefited from the engagement. Yeah. I mean, talking about the person that's working along with you, that's got lived experience, the fact that they've got physical disability as well. I mean, I have physical disability. I've got sight impairment. I've got hearing loss. And I have minor mental health problems from time to time as a result of dealing with all those. Hopefully won't need the facilities that you've built. I manage them in other ways, but I think it's good to have a good cross section involved, and the fact that you've been able to cover most of that with one person who's worked obviously closely by you, that's been a good example as to how to make sure that the engagement is relevant to the project, and you know, hopefully going forward, the dividends will be there in the way that benefits the service users in the long term. Yeah, and I think thanks for that, and thanks for your time.
You're very welcome, Steve. Just to give you an example of that last point you made, Stephen, and I think it's a powerful example we've used several times during various levels of engagement, is when we were looking at where we put the electric vehicle charging points around the site, our service user who works with us said, most cars on the Blue Badge scheme now are electric. So some of those need to be in the disabled base, and that's the sort of, that's the sort of information we would have no insight to whatsoever had we not had somebody who had that direct experience within the team. And that again is just one of those little things that will make a huge difference to people who use our services.
Thank you.
Thanks,
if it's all right, maybe Sally, because I'm assuming because you're sort of chairing the meeting today, that you could maybe pass this back to yeah, go on.
Sean and Karen.
Yeah, Sean and
Yeah.
Karen. I was thinking of Karen because I always remember as a previous surname before she remarried. Sorry, but if you could pass it back to them so that we can maybe get it put on the PPC, not necessarily to have a full presentation like today, but just the actual engagement side of it and how that's worked. I think it'd be really beneficial for all of the team on the PPC. It shows good progress and good work.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great idea. I will do that after the session today. I'll have a chat with Karen and Sean about it.
Thanks, Sally.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great idea. I've just got a question that sort of follows on from Stephen's as well about that continuous engagement. So I'm thinking about when the units are open, have you got some plans to, obviously, I'm sure you have, to how you're going to gather that feedback from service users that are using the facilities and being involved in that, as well as obviously the staff that are working there.
Do you want me to pick that up, Andy, or do you want to do it?
Well, I'll kick off. Yeah, thanks, Ali. One of the things that we did when we were putting the business cases together was to identify the benefits for each of the projects that we've got, and during the calendar year 2025, we'll be doing a detailed review that will involve service users, carers, and our clinical colleagues to demonstrate or not that all of those benefits have actually been achieved, and whether or not indeed there is anything that could be improved post opening. But hopefully, I think with the level of engagement that we've had, we've identified as much as is practically possible in terms of the facilities during the design process. Don't know if you want to add to that, Jeff.
Yeah, and I think as part of the procurement route that we've used for particularly the new builds, there is a requirement for a post-project evaluation at 6, 9 and 12 months after the contract has completed. So that's where we bring the contractors back, and as Andy says, that will be that point that we do a benefits review as well. But we have to do have we built the right thing and have we built it to the right standard, and that'll be part of that evaluation. And I think that's an important thing about the NHS procurement framework, what they're calling P23 at the moment, is that is built into the actual process itself, so that you don't just build these, get handed the keys, and then never see the contractors again. And they've got 2 years where they've got to keep the place defect free as well, so it's in their interest to keep contact with us.
Yeah, great, thank you. I've just got one final question if no one else has got any more questions, but feel free to raise your hand if you do, or pop something in the chat. Just about, I note all the additional staff that are required for obviously all the units. So I presume there's a recruitment plan in terms of how you're going to go about that, because yeah, it's quite significant, understandably. But yeah, I just wanted your thoughts on that, really.
Yeah, I mean the because it is such a crucial and large recruitment program, that's been worked on since the beginning of this year. So Jane and colleagues have developed a branding that we're using at recruitment days, both generic recruitment days for NHS personnel, but also specifically for for our units. And that's been very successful to date, and it's really helped with stabilising the units as they're staffed today. And then next year there will be a step up in terms of the not only the additional staff for the current services, but particularly we recognise the challenge of recruiting 2 entire teams for the new specialist services that we haven't provided previously. So it is a huge challenge, but long in the planning to ensure that we're successful next year.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, obviously the scale of the recruitment drive that we've got, this isn't all about recruiting. So there's an awful lot of work going on for apprenticeships, for developing people who are already within the organisation as healthcare assistants, making that transition to from a HCA healthcare assistant to a nurse. We're looking at connecting with all the schools. By schools I mean health schools and universities that have student nurses coming through to make us their first choice when they come to the end of their nurse training. And that brand, the Making Room for Dignity brand, has been a real seller for that, in terms of people being able to actually identify with the programme, look at the new facilities they're going to be able to work in, have a look at the virtual flyovers and fly-throughs that we've shown you today. They're all used as part of that branding, as part of that recruitment drive. So it's a mixture of, as Andy said, retention of staff we've got, recruitment of new staff, and development of staff who are in other careers and other areas at the moment.
Great, thank you. Stephen.
Just a quick one with regard to Hartington. You're refurbishing Hartington. Of course, there's a physical disconnect between Hartington and the new unit. Staffing wise, how will the logistics work? Will the staff rotate between that unit and the main unit, or will they have their own staff?
No, the new unit, the Derwent unit, will replace the wards and Hartington unit. So all of those patients who are on the wards at the moment, the older patients will go down to Walton, because they're sharing a ward area at the moment with working age adults, and then the working age adults will move across the road. So we will retain about 40% of the Hartington unit, but only as like an admin block. Because we are very space limited in the new builds because of the land that was available. So yeah, there'll be no duplication. There'll be some people whose office will be at the Hartington unit and who carry out work in the new unit. But that, you know, it's a 2-minute walk, so it's not going to cause us any problems.
Yeah, that's probably come about as the discussions quite a while ago, before this project really got started, that at one point Hartington was going to be refurbished and used. Obviously you've changed that in the process of development, so it's not going to be used for patients. No.
We looked at the construction of the building and the availability of outdoor space, and it just wasn't possible to refurbish that, because you've only got one ward downstairs at the Hartington unit, then the other 2 are upstairs. So we can only use the outdoors, the ground floor space anyway, because it's got access to outdoors. And by the time you'd extended the building enough to be able to make it ensuite, you've got no outdoor space left. So it was seen as an option we couldn't pursue.
Yeah, it makes more sense anyway to keep it all in the main unit, and obviously if it's going to benefit you by having some office space there, you've still got some use out of the existing building.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Andy and Jeff. Great presentation and really useful to give an overview of the whole programme of work. And I note that you've put the link to your website that's got more information on there, so people can keep track of all the progress that's made there. So thank you very much. Next time, we've actually got a session next Wednesday, which I appreciate so quite soon. The topic on this one's that how we use your data. So that's going to be led by Jed in the Integrated Care Board. We're going to be sending the invite out for that one, obviously, straight after we've completed the session today, so people can register and sign up to that one. And then we've also got a session in January on the Wednesday, the 24th of Jan, which is about the Living Well programme. And we've got Jane Davis on the call today. She'll be leading the presentation for that one. So hopefully, if I don't see everybody next week, have a great Christmas and hopefully see you in the new year. Jane, sorry, did you want to say something there?
Just a very quick one. Sorry, it's not. Could you share the link to the recording so we can share it as well, if that's okay?
You mean from today?
From today's
session?
Yes, please.
It will all be uploaded. It goes onto YouTube, so yeah, we'll be able to share the link to where you can see that. Yeah, no problem. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. See you soon.
Thanks everybody.
All.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.